Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel. Now I get asked the question a lot, what should I buy on this rogue? What should I focus on upgrading? Should I buy perks, weapons, or my gadgets? And in this video, I'm going to seek to sort of explain that for every single rogue. I'm going to be going over what you should be buying in between each round, generally for the rogues, and give you an idea of which rogues are more weapon specific, which ones are more perk specific, and which ones are more gadget specific. So you get an idea of what you should be prioritizing for your potential favorite rogue. If you do go on to enjoy the video or you like the educational content coming out from this channel, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. But for now, let's get into it. Of course, this video would be way too long if I went into details about every specific round for every specific rogue. So if you are looking for a little bit more of an in-depth guide into each rogue, I would recommend you head to my character guide playlist, where you can check out guides for each rogue where I do talk about that upgrade priority, or you can check out my gameplays where I obviously play these rogues and show you what I'm upgrading, or finally check me out on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING, where I stream every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you can come ask the question there. This specific video though is going to give you a good idea of what you should be spending, how you should be using your economy in between rounds, and what the focus for these rogues are. So the game has just started and round 1 hits. What should you be buying for your rogue? Well, for every single rogue pretty much, I recommend you definitely be buying something. And for the most part, this is going to be some form of gadget. Now the gadgets are split up into tacticals, which are things like your smoke grenades, flashbangs, or your lethals, which are the ones that deal damage, such as a grenade, bounce grenade, or C4. Now the tacticals tend to be a little bit cheaper, which means if you are worried that you may lose this first round, it can be a better way of saving a little bit of economy to try and make sure you have a weapon next round. But on the other hand, the lethals, which will cost $5,000, which will take up your entire pool of money, can offer you to get a kill, which in turn would give you that money back so that you could either win the round or at least have some more going into it. So it kind of depends how confident you are. On certain rogues, I would recommend going the tactical, for example, a smoke grenade if you know you're on attack and have to push. But for the most part, those lethals can be really, really good also. For every single rogue though, I generally recommend you either pick up a tactical or a lethal. There are a few minor exceptions, one being Saint. You could opt to buy Helping Hands first round. I don't think that's a bad purchase at all, if you want that quicker revive off of round 1 for someone as vital as Saint. You can also pick up Padded Steps if you are one of these rogues and you want to go for a really early play with a flank and want to be silent for that. Those would include Dallas, Kestrel, Glitch, or Talon. And then the only other exception, and this is one that is personal preference to me and not even necessary, but Phantom I do not buy anything on typically in these early rounds. The reason for it is just because I really, really want that sniper in round 2, and by not buying anything, I guarantee a weapon in round 2. So I tend not to buy anything on Phantom. For every other rogue though, I'm pretty much buying some form of tactical or lethal weapon. Now we're moving on to round 2, which is ideally where you're going to be wanting to buy your primary weapon. Either you've lost the round and had a good impact enough to have some economy, or you've won the round, which should give you just about enough economy, assuming you did something like getting assist or a revive or bomb plant or defuse. So you should be looking to get your primary weapon in round 2. If you cannot buy your primary weapon in round 2, it is so important that you save some economy to make sure you can get it for round 3. Not having a primary weapon for that many rounds is going to put you at a serious disadvantage. And this is really the first major tip I'm going to give you. If you are going into round 2 and you cannot buy a primary weapon, you need to save at least $2,000 of your economy in your bank so that you can be able to buy a weapon next round. If you lose 2 consecutive rounds, you'll get $6,000 at the end of that round. So having the $2,000 that you've saved up plus the $6,000 for losing, that's going to marry up nicely and let you have that primary weapon in round 3. If you start spending more money, you can go 2, 3, 4 rounds without a primary weapon and put yourself at a serious disadvantage. The only few exceptions to this rule for me are the ones who can run pistol only for a couple rounds or even the entire game. For me, that includes Sigrid, who I do think can go pistol only throughout the entire game. Dahlia, who I think should be focusing on perks such as Tenacity or Lifeline as soon as possible. Even Trench, who I'd say could upgrade some gadgets. And maybe, on occasion, even Anvil, if you want a bit of extra survivability. With round 1 2 out the way, you should have the core foundation of your rogue to start dealing some things, start dealing with some of the future rounds that are going to be coming within the game. And that's what we're going to go over now, is how you should be spending your money between rounds 3 and 6, sort of these main chunk of the rounds before the very last round. I think this is the part where people get most confused. They don't know whether they should be upgrading their gadgets, maybe get some perks, or whether they should be upgrading their gun. And I'm going to sort of give you an idea of which rogues should be focusing on which element of their kit as they move through these rounds. And to help you with that, I've got this graphic on screen, which I'm going to talk about which rogues should focus on weapons, which rogues should focus on perks, and which rogues should focus on gadget. You can see it scrolling throughout the screen here, and it'll give you an idea of which rogue complements which upgrade priority the most. I recommend pausing it, on rogues you're particularly interested in. But again, guys, if you want a more in-depth feature of this, head to my rogue guides, head to my stream or to my gameplays, and you'll get an idea of specifically what I'm upgrading. For the most part though, this is going to be what you should be focusing on. Let's take an example. Somebody like Anvil is definitely a perk-focused rogue. You want to be buying those perks as your initial priority, your main S tier, A tier, and B tier perks. If you want to know which perks fall into that category, go check out my perk tier list that I uploaded recently. That'll give you an idea of the most important perks to buy. After that, as you get into some of these more middle rounds, maybe like rounds 5 and 6, you should be focusing then on his gadgets because they're so useful for him. And then finally, your weapon is not that much of a priority in terms of upgrading on Anvil, so that can be saved for last if you have any spare cash. And that formula repeats for all of the rogues based on what they need most, whether they be focusing on their weapons, whether they be focusing on their gadgets or their perks. You can see that here on this scroll down. I'm going to quickly touch on something that I haven't mentioned yet within this video, and that is melee weapons and pistol upgrades. I don't personally think there's any point in putting money and economy into these as a priority, unless you can upgrade a melee weapon fully when you can buy it, so you have 10k to put into a melee weapon. I don't think it's normally worth it. There's very few instances that I will actually do this, but very occasionally I might. It's definitely not a round one purchase, and pistol upgrades are almost useless unless, for me, you're running C-grid pistol only, in which case you might want to opt for it. Other than those sort of conditions though, I do not recommend that you buy melee weapons or pistol upgrades within Rogue Company until you get to the final round, and I'll mention that now. So the final round has rocked around, and this is going to either be the round before the half, so round 7, or potentially if it's a 7-7 on the second half, this is the last round, round 15. Your economy goes nowhere after this round, and so you want to be spending every single bit of it that you can. Whether this be buying a $3,000 perk, or whether it actually be putting points into your melee weapon upgrade or pistol upgrade, now is the time to do it, because otherwise, where's that going to go? And you never know when that upgrade could save your life, could win you the game or the round that might be so vital into the upcoming victory. So that's going to be the final round for you guys. You want to be buying everything, and I say this to my teammates when I'm in game with them, and I say it to you guys as much as I can on stream. Final round hits, spend every penny that you have, because otherwise it's purely wasted, and why would you want to do that? So that is going to be the run through for you guys of what you should be buying between each rounds within Rogue Company. However, there's one more thing I want to touch on, and this is going to be saving rounds. It's not a really common thing within Rogue Company to save rounds, as it is with something like CSGO or Valorant, where your economy is slightly on a different system. However, there are instances in Rogue Company where you may want to save a little bit of extra cash for a certain upgrade. I kind of mentioned it in round 2 where I said you want to have this amount of money to make sure you have a primary weapon next round. But there are a few other instances that I'm going to quickly go over where you might want to save money. Now in Rogue Company, you get between 5,500 and 6,500, depending on whether you win or lose the round, as a bare minimum, and then your kills, downs, assists, revives, etc. jump on top of that. And the good thing about that is that most items within Rogue Company can either be upgraded or bought within that price range. However, there are a few more key and expensive items, particularly in the perk set, that you may have to save up for should you actually want these, namely something such as life drain or track around. In this instance, you have to be smart about your money. You can still buy things the round before and save a little bit of extra cash to then save up for this. And generally, I would say if you can save between 4,000 and 5,000, assuming you are getting a few kills, or maybe something more like 6,000 in case you're not, that should allow you to buy that top tier perk going into the next round, even if you don't have that much of an impact. Of course, if you are someone who has a lot of impact within your rounds, you do get a lot of kills, a lot of assists, a lot of revives, then you may not have to wait as long. Or if you're playing Sonic Kestrel, it's kind of free money if you start getting kills. But for the most part, if you are looking to really focus on buying a top tier perk early on, that's how much you're going to want to save, around that 4,000 to 6,000 mark, just to ensure that you can get that for your next round. Okay then guys, that's going to be the end of the video, and if you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING if you want to see live gameplay commentaries, and also on Instagram, TikTok, and I have a second channel, more Radthar, all linked down in the description below. For now though guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.